Have you ever kind of stopped and wondered how simple text in a file actually becomes, well, an action? Like logging you into a website or figuring out your total at checkout? The secret is in these little things called operators. They're basically the verbs of code, and we're about to see exactly how they work.
I mean, really think about it for a second. A file filled with code is just characters on a screen, right? So how does it suddenly know how to calculate a price or send a message or do anything at all? What gives it the power to actually act?
Well, it's a lot like a sentence. A sentence needs a verb to make any sense, to actually describe an action. A line of code is the same way, and it needs an operator. Operators are the action words, the verbs, that tell the computer what to do with all the numbers and text you give it. Okay, so let's start with the operators that probably feel the most familiar, the ones that are pretty much just the math we all learned in school. These are the most basic action words in all of coding. This first group really does two main things. First, you've got your arithmetic operators, plus, minus, they do the math. Then you have assignment operators, like the equals sign. They take the answer from that math and store it away for later. It's really just a two-step dance. Calculate and then save. So here are the big four. You've got your standard plus for addition and minus for subtraction. For multiplication, we just use an asterisk, and for division, a forward slash. Now, they might seem super simple, but these little symbols are the engine behind literally any calculation a computer makes.
For instance, look at this simple line of code. It uses the addition operator, the plus sign. It just tells the computer, hey, add 6 and 2. And, of course, the result is 8. That plus sign is the verb. It's the action word that makes the whole thing happen.
Okay, now this is a really, really crucial point, and it's something that trips up almost everyone when they're starting out. A single equal sign is an order. It's you telling the computer, take the number 5 and put it into this container. But a double equal sign is a question. It's asking, hey, is the thing in this container equal to 5? One is a command, the other is a question. Big difference. So now that we know how to get code to do things, how do we get it to ask questions? Well, that brings us to our next category of operators, the question words. You can think of comparison operators as the little detectives inside your code. They don't perform an action themselves. They just compare two things and come back with a super simple answer, either true or false. And that simple yes or no answer, that's the foundation for all decision-making in programming. And here are the main ones. We've already seen the double equals, which asks, is this equal to that? Then you've got its opposite, is not equal to. And of course, the ones we all know, is greater than and is less than. Each one of these lets your code ask a basic question and get that simple yes or no answer it needs to make a choice.
Now, this is where things get really interesting, and it's where a lot of sneaky little bugs can hide. I'm talking about the difference between 2 equal signs and 3. The double equals is, let's say, flexible. It looks at two things and asks, are their values basically the same? But the triple equals, it's much stricter. It asks, are their values the same and are their types the same? In this example, see how one has a plus sign and the other doesn't? To the double equals, they're close enough. But to the triple equals, they are not identical. And that kind of precision is what keeps your code from doing unexpected things. So we can do things and we can ask simple questions. But what if we need to ask more complex questions? Like a question that depends on the answer to another question. That's where our final group of operators comes in. The best way to think about these is like conjunctions in a sentence. Words like and or. They let you chain together multiple true or false questions to build a much more sophisticated condition. Like, is this true and is that true? Or maybe, is this true or is that true?
So there are 3 main ways we connect our questions. The double ampersand is for and it's strict. Both things you're asking about have to be true. The 2 vertical bars are for or, which is more relaxed. Only one of the things needs to be true. And then there's the exclamation mark, which means not. It's the simplest of them all. It just flips the answer from true to false or from false back to true. Here's a perfect real-world example. This bit of code asks 2 questions using the and operator. First, is the hour greater than 12? And second, is the hour less than 14? Only if the answer to both of those questions is yes does the program decide, okay, yep, it's lunchtime.
Now for a more nuanced idea. There's a special operator called exclusive or XOR. And this is a fantastic way to think about it. It means one thing or the other thing can be true, but they can't both be true. Just like cleaning supplies, ammonia is great, bleach is great, but you never ever use them at the same time. And sometimes your code needs that exact same logic, one or the other, but please not both.
Okay, so we've seen operators that do stuff, operators that ask questions, and operators that connect those questions. Let's put it all together and see them working as a team in something you probably do every single day.
A simple login form. First, the code uses a comparison operator, equals, to ask if the username you typed in matches. Then, it uses another one to ask if the password matches. Finally, it uses a logical operator, and, to connect them. It asks, was the first answer true, and was the second answer true? If and only if the answer to that combined question is yes, then you get access.
You know, programmers are always looking for more efficient, cleaner ways to write code. So what if you have a really simple, if this happens, do that, otherwise do something else kind of problem? Is there a shortcut?
So here's the standard way you'd handle this, using an if-else statement. We use a comparison operator to check if the fuel is low. If the answer is true, we show one message. If it's false, we show a different one. This works perfectly fine, but notice it takes up 5 whole lines of code. We can do better.
And here is the exact same logic, but we've condensed it into a single line using something called the ternary operator. It's like a mini, compact if statement. First, you have the question, is fuel less than or equal to 1? The question mark basically means, if that's true, do this next thing. And the colon means, otherwise, do this last thing instead. It's a really neat tool for making simple choices way more concise. So when you really get down to it, from simple math to really complex decisions, it's all about the operators. They are what breathe life into code. They are the quiet, tiny engines turning all that static text into the dynamic digital world we use every single day. They might just be symbols on a screen, but they represent the fundamental actions of logic itself. And understanding them, that's really the first step to understanding how code actually thinks.